Welcome back to Starting Six, a volleyball podcast with Haley and Liv. This is episode 14. We are recapping week 5, and it was a big one.
It was.
I felt like last week was a little bit of a snooze, just getting things going and some conference play that just was ending the way we thought it would. And I feel like this week there was a lot of upsets. There was some really great games that didn't necessarily end in an upset, but were fantastic to watch. So I'm very excited to get into it.
Yes. Well, first, we'll talk about it later, but you were at the Badger game on October 1st. How was it?
I had a blast. I mean, they played Michigan, so it wasn't like I wasn't going into it being like this is going to be a great game like to be at, but it definitely was fun to be back in the field house. I haven't been since we went together in 2021 for the Big Ten championship game against Nebraska. So I was super happy about that. I got to go to another Badger game with my mom, which is always so much fun. And then I actually got to go with my sister, my aunt, and my cousin as well. And my cousin's she's a freshman in high school. So she's like at that age where you're kind of like watching college players and admiring them and aspiring them. And, and it was just like so fun to actually like see that. So it was a blast. The field house was still sold out. I made a TikTok about it with a bunch of videos. So feel free to check that out on Starting Six Pod. And it was a blast. I mean, like, it was so much fun. It was loud. There was so many students there because it was a Sunday. So there wasn't really anything like else going on. The Packers didn't play on Sunday, so there wasn't any football for Wisconsin people to watch. So I feel like that helped a lot. But the students you can tell that they just want to be there. And I took a bunch of videos of Bucky the Badger because I can't get enough of him. I think he's so funny. It was a blast. It was so much fun.
Good. That's looked amazing. I will hopefully be going in about 2 weeks. Fingers crossed that my brother can get us tickets. But I cannot wait to be back at the field house. It's a different environment there.
It's the best. It is the absolute best.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I think like you kind of forget too like how big it actually is because like it's hard to judge the scale of it on TV, of course, but even in person from the outside because it's attached to Camp Randall. So you can't actually see the scale of the field house itself. Yeah. So once you get in there and like at the end of the game, we were kind of walking down near the court and like when you're kind of looking up and looking around, you're like, holy shit, this place is huge. Like you don't really like get to like register it. And I think it's a little bit different because it kind of feels like it's built like up, like straight up instead of kind of like out. Yeah. So it feels more like everyone's like kind of looking down at you. And it was packed.
Yeah. That's so fun.
One more thing I do want to do before we get started is, we obviously talk about Division I volleyball, but we talked about this a little bit. I saw it on Facebook. The University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, they broke their program record. Yeah. And they had 2,725 fans.
That's crazy.
At their match for their win over Stevens Point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy for the D1 or the D3 level, excuse me.
Yeah.
So just wanted to shout out to them. They're just steamrolling people. They're insane. Yeah. So just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah. And it's really cool to see it. Obviously, we were in the WIAC with them, or WIAC, however you want to say it, playing against them. And so it's not like we know the girls personally, but I feel like we know that team personally, just competing against them. And so it's really cool to not only be in the same conference, but having played them and just like their culture and everything, seeing that. I think it's well deserved from Oshkosh. They've been building up their program a lot over the years. And so it's really cool to see that. And 2 ranked teams from the WIAC conference that played each other. So Oshkosh and Stevens Point are both ranked. So that's even cooler to see that they had such a big turnout for that in-season game.
Yeah, it's something that just continues to be like a trickle effect. Like people at all levels want to watch volleyball. Yeah. I mean, I saw it on Sunday at the top level you can in college. I mean, they played Michigan, who their record's not good. They haven't won any conference games. I mean, it wasn't like it was the matchup of the year. It was at 1:00 on a Sunday and it was packed. I mean, people just genuinely want to go. And that's what me and my mom said. We were like, yeah, this isn't like the biggest game in the world, but we just want to go watch. Like, we just want to see the Badgers play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's really something cool to that. And then to see it at a level that was more of a reality for the two of us was really great. They have a huge facility.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that it felt packed and felt loud. So good for them. That was just really exciting to see.
Awesome.
Okay, let's dive into it.
Yes.
Week 5.
Please.
We're going to do some game recaps, the same that we have done in previous weeks. We have our start versus bench segment this week. And then we will also be going over the new rankings that came out this afternoon and upcoming games to watch as conference play continues.
Yes.
Okay. First up, we're starting on September 27th. Rutgers in a Big Ten matchup hosted Maryland, and Maryland took the win in 4. Yeah. Those scores were 25-19, 25-14, 15-25, 25-18. Yeah. I feel like this could have gone either way. Like, these teams are pretty interchangeable, are they not?
Yeah, they're pretty evenly matched, I feel like. So I wasn't super surprised that it went to 4. I kind of thought maybe it would go 5, just because they're interchangeable. So I thought, yeah, they were pretty evenly matched, so that maybe it would go to a 5th set. But I'm not surprised, but also I wouldn't have been surprised, I don't think, if Rutgers won, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too, because I don't get them mixed up, but their logos are so similar that like sometimes like it takes me a second that I'm like, wait, okay, got it. All right, so let's go over some stats here. So for Rutgers, their top hitter was Alyssa Kinkela, 6'4" sophomore. Outside, she had 15 kills with 2 errors on 36 attempts, so she was hitting a .361, 10 digs. Christina Grkovic, that's what I'm going with. These last names are insane. Like, have you noticed them? Like,
yeah.
Oh God. 12 kills, 2 errors on 15 attempts. So she was hitting a .667. And then Taylor Humphrey, she's a 6'3" sophomore outside, 12 kills, 4 errors, 27 attempts, hitting a .296. So good numbers coming out of Rutgers. And then Maryland match. So Samantha Schnida, she's a 6-foot senior pin hitter. She had 16 kills, 3 errors. That's crazy. 30 attempts. She was hitting a .433. Man, these names are literally gonna kill me. Sam Sire, that's what I'm going with. 6-foot sophomore senior outside, 13 kills, 3 errors on 30 attempts. She was hitting a .333. She had 11 digs, so that's a double for her. And then Layla Ivy, 6'1" sophomore outside, 11 kills, 3 errors, 23 attempts, hitting a .348.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's my notes. Could have been anyone's game.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it from those stats. I mean, they were very evenly matched. It just, I think, was some of the errors and then getting on runs and then not being able to catch back up.
Yeah, one thing I noticed when looking at some of the stats, Maryland heavily out-hit Rutgers in the first 2 and the 4th set. So the 3 sets that they won, they were just out-hitting them. And then I also said that I wouldn't rule Maryland out of putting up some strong Big Ten competition at all. Like, I'm sure that they're going to be pretty scrappy when it comes to playing some of the bigger teams in the conference for sure.
Yeah.
All right, kicking it off. Continuing the Big Ten play.
Okay.
Number 22 Ohio State hosted number 1 Wisconsin. Wisconsin with the sweep, 25-19, 25-20, 25-18. These stats for Ohio State were not good. So Emily Londa with the 6'3" senior outside, she had 13 kills, 9 errors, 38 attempts, so she was hitting a .105. The next best hitter had 5 kills.
Yeah.
So,
and that's not even a great game from Emily Londa hitting. Like, usually she's up in the high teens, low 20s every match, and she's only hitting 13, hitting barely a triple-digit hitting percentage. And then your next best is 5 kills.
Yeah, it's what we've said it every single week. Ohio State relying on one player is going to bite them in the ass, and it has every single game because, that's a lot for her to carry, Emily Londa to carry mentally and physically. So for you to, it's easy to scout, and for you to put that amount of pressure on her physically and mentally, that's not going to pay off for you in the end. And I just think Ohio State is suffering because of it. I mean, they're not a bad team. You can't compete against good teams with one hitter.
Yeah. And I think with Wisconsin's block, they already knew that they were going to her, so that's why they were able to shut her down so well, because their block and their defense they're honing in on her. So you're never going to be able to win, let alone get maybe past the sweep against some of the big teams.
Yeah, so I did watch this game, and the scores were close. Like, yeah, it was a sweep, but it wasn't like they were just mopping the floor.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough, and it's not going to be enough. So for Wisconsin, even Wisconsin didn't put up great numbers. Sarah Franklin, the 6'4" senior outside, she had 11 kills, 2 errors, 21 attempts, so she was hitting a .429. Temi Thomas-Aguilera, the 6'2" fifth-year outside, had 10 kills, 5 errors on 26 attempts, so she was hitting a .192. And then Anna Smrek, the 6'9" junior right side, had 8 kills, 1 error on 13 attempts for a .538 hitting percentage. I said I'm not surprised with this outcome. I wouldn't say that Wisconsin's offense was dominating. Clearly wasn't necessarily needed. And you're not going to have big kill numbers on a 3-set match. Totally understand that. I just was watching and was just like still just not overly impressed. But they did hold Emily Londa, like we said, which is how you beat Ohio State. And Wisconsin hit in the 300s and Ohio State in the 100s for each set. So you can't compete with that.
Nope.
So more on Wisconsin to come. Let's see. All right, next up. Ooh, this is a good one. We got an upset. A big one. So number 4, Florida, hosted Texas A&M and lost.
Yeah.
In 5.
Yeah.
These scores are crazy. So the scores were 24-26, 25-23, 21-25, 26-24, 15-13. So
that's as close as you can get it, basically. And
a fight to the death, literally.
So, it could have gone either way.
Yeah. Crazy. This is we kind of foreshadowed it a little bit last week, just saying Florida's going to struggle. Not necessarily in a bad way. They have to put in more work now without Alexis Stuckey. And so I didn't think that this upset was going to come so soon. But it did. And it was surprising, but it also was, almost understandable in a way. You almost kind of give them grace or feel kind of not bad, but you're kind of just well, that's, like we did last week. So, some of the numbers, I just want to go over some of these because Texas A&M played out their minds.
Yeah.
For Florida, we'll start there. So Kennedy Martin, the 6'6" freshman right side, had 16 kills, 6 errors on 38 attempts. So she was hitting a .263. AC Fitzpatrick, 5'11" senior outside, 15 kills, 5 errors on 39 attempts. So very even between the right side and the outside for a .256%. And then Kennedy Muff, the 5'11" fifth-year setter, who stepped in when Alexis Stuckey got hurt. She hit a .333%. She had 40 assists and 13 digs. So pretty good numbers for her. So Texas A&M. Oh my gosh. Their top hitter, Logan Lednicki. She's a 6'3" sophomore right side. 22 kills, 6 errors on 41 attempts. So she was hitting a .390. The next one is Afena Casapala. I listened to her name on the website. I was like, what? I'm never going to say that right. So I listened and then I put it in. She's a 6'2" sophomore middle. She had 12 kills, 0 errors on 16 attempts. 12 kills, 16 attempts. She hit a .750, which is 16 attempts for, in 5-set, maybe not so much, but 16 attempts for a middle's pretty damn good for one middle anyway. And then making it 12 kills on 16 attempts. That's crazy. Yeah. And then Caroline Muth, she is the 5'11" fifth-year outside. She had 12 kills, 4 errors, 34 attempts. So she hit a .235 and had 19 digs. Yeah. So just way better numbers. My notes, like I said, this is the struggle we talked about. The hitting percentages were pretty even throughout the match. And Texas A&M had 17 service errors.
I know.
So it must have been a defense game because to have that many service errors and to be able to come on top is absurd. And it makes me think that amount of service errors, this probably wouldn't have gone 5.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, based on some of my notes and stats, Logan led Nikki. She had 6 block assists. If how'd you say her name? Ifina?
Yeah, it's okay. Casapala.
Okay, she had 7 block assists, and then I don't know if you said this, Caroline Muth had 19 digs.
Yeah.
On it. So like just flat out, I think their defense won it, and I think they had a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder in a way to beat a ranked team. So I think all in all, it could have gone either way, but I think Texas A&M just maybe had a little bit more of a fight in them and a little bit more energy at the end to finish off that match, just because they wanted to be, a top ranked team.
Yeah, and I mean, beating Florida at home, regardless of their rank and your rank, is a huge win because they've had a huge crowd this year. They've sold out a couple of times. So that's a huge push for Texas A&M, and Florida will just have to turn around and figure out how to bounce back. I mean, it's going to happen. You're not, just because you're a top 5 team doesn't mean you're not going to lose. And it just happened to be that you lost to an unranked team. Yep. But that's part of the game. So hopefully, and I think Kennedy Muff put up really great numbers. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the problem. I think it's just going to try to be, we were out hit. Maybe we were, outplayed in defense. Maybe that's just the way that the card's laid. But watching film and figuring out how to come back from that is really all they can do. And Texas A&M is in their conference, so they'll face them again. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, last game on the 27th that I have is number 14 Arkansas wins over number 24 Auburn. Bad.
It was an ass kicking.
The scores get progressively worse. So it was Arkansas won 25-18. Okay. 25-10. Ooh. 25-6. How do you come back from that?
You don't. You just say, bye, I'm done.
The stats show this as well. So Arkansas's top hitter was Taylor. I'm going to say it's Heed and not Head. I'm going Heed.
Okay.
The 5'10" senior outside, 10 kills, 2 errors. She hit a .381. Jillian Gillen, the 5'7" fifth year outside, had 8 kills, 2 errors on 16 attempts. She had a .375. And then Sania Pettis, 6'1" junior middle, 7 kills, no errors on 11 attempts, and hit a .636.
Nice.
For Auburn, their best hitter was Madison Shear. She's a 6'1" sophomore pin. She had 4 kills and a .045 hitting percentage. 3 hitters were in the negative, and 1 hitter was held to 0.0.
Like the fact that your highest hitter had 4 kills.
Yeah, that's not good. And Auburn's ranked. They were 24. So, not really what you want to see from a top 25 team. Overall, like as a team too, Auburn hit a .129, a negative 0.28. That's awful.
Horrible.
And then negative .04. Wait, do you have negative 0.28 or a negative .028?
No, I have a negative .28.
Okay.
And then a negative .04.
Okay, that's what I had too, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't just really bashing them for hitting that far in the negative. Arkansas hit a .259, .412, .640.
Yeah.
A .640 to a negative 0.4 is tough.
Yeah. And as a team collectively, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Interesting how Auburn will respond to that ass whooping.
We will see. I'm going to keep my eye on them to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, I have one game on the 28th, but I'm going to combine it with the game on the 29th. So Texas and BYU had a doubleheader, basically. On the 28th and 29th, both were hosted by number 10 Texas. BYU was number 9. Texas won them both.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised by these numbers.
Me too.
So I'll start with night one scores. So I have 13 to 25, 25-20, 25-15, 25-22. Night two, I have 26-28, 25-13, 25-22, 25-20. So a little bit better on night two. Okay, so for the stats, I combined.
Okay.
Because I wasn't quite sure how to do this. I didn't want to be super repetitive. So I just combined them. So these are total numbers. So Madison Skinner for the 2 nights, the 6'2" junior outside had 29 kills, 10 errors, 29 digs total. Jenna Wenis had the 6'1" junior outside, 22 kills, 13 errors total. Ella Swindle, the 6'3" freshman setter, had 6 kills, 81 assists total. And then I highlighted on night two, Bella Bergmark, the 6'2" senior middle, had 10 kills, 3 errors, and hit a .412. So very good numbers coming out of Texas. That looks like Texas to me. For BYU, Erin Livingston, she has led all the stats we've talked about so far. She's a 6'2" senior outside. She had 23 kills, 19 errors, 15 digs total, and hit negative on night two. So she's their best hitter. So that's, good for you, Texas. Katie Pryor, the 6'4" sophomore right side, had 20 kills and 5 errors total. That's crazy. And then on night two, Whitney Bauer, the 5'9" senior setter, had 10 kills, 3 errors, and hit a .412 attacking. I watched night one. I did not watch night two. I don't remember why. Oh, because I was watching the next game. And I thought it was going to be better than it was. Texas kind of, like, BYU smoked them in the first set. Like, they just steamrolled. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad for Texas. No, they came back and they were calm, cool, collected, did their thing. I think the home court was probably an advantage for them. This was a big matchup, so I can imagine there was quite a lot of people there. So a couple notes I have. So the Big 12 conference teams play back to back because there's 14 teams in the Big 12 conference. So instead of taking each other on like other conferences do, where you play one away and then one home later on, they play back to back. BYU's offense is a machine. Like, I know they lost. But when you're watching them, it is pass, set, hit, pass, set, hit. I mean, there's no, like, I haven't seen a lot of that. Like, they're not really scurrying around. Like, they're not playing super out of system. Texas's defense just didn't let them play to their strength, which is their offense. But when you're watching it, it's a literal, like, machine.
Very efficient.
Yes, it's mesmerizing.
Volleyball.
And their offense is why they are so successful. And Texas defense just stopped them, which that's how you win. Texas outblocked BYU 11-6, thanks to Asia O'Neal, the 6'3" senior middle blocker for Texas. This looked like Texas volleyball. Like, I was like, there we go. There they are. That's Texas. And even the announcers kind of said it, like, losing Logan Eggleston was a huge hit for Texas. I don't think people realized how big of an asset she actually was till she was gone. However, I think that BYU will come back quick. And they're going to be a force in the postseason. Their offense is just, it's smooth. It's crazy. I haven't really seen a lot like that this year.
I think that will help them very well in the postseason, because I think, I mean, just looking at some of the Big Ten schools, some of the top schools, like, let's say Wisconsin, they kind of struggle with that at times, that efficient, smooth volleyball. And I think BYU can get a lot of teams caught on their heels, caught on their defense, not being quick enough to that smooth offense. So I definitely think come postseason, it's going to be very helpful for them. And they're just going to be able to fine tune it until then, especially playing good teams like Texas. Clearly, Texas turned the page and was like, oh, shoot, we got to play volleyball, because based on the past few weeks, they weren't really playing that great volleyball. So I think it was just a turn in the page for Texas, and they really figured out what was happening. And it probably kind of caught by BYU off guard a little bit, just with their massive block and very good defense. So I'm not surprised, but also am surprised just based on how Texas was doing. I thought BYU might have taken one of the two matches.
Yeah, I think it could definitely have been one of those situations where when you have these big anticipated matches, like both from a fan perspective and from your perspective, and they feel like they matter and they're so heavy, you play differently. You know, like I think that there was probably a way that Texas felt like a lot was at stake for this game in particular.
For sure.
And you just tend to play up. And I think that that's what happened, and it worked out in Texas' favor. So I hope that the momentum stays with them and they don't keep riding like this kind of wave that they've been on. Whereas like BYU has just been sturdy and steady.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of speaking of that, I'd like to move into my next game that I have here. Speaking of playing up. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this game. I think we texted a little bit about it, but like I was shook. So on September 29th, number 17, Purdue hosted number 2, Nebraska. I don't know exactly how to say this. I'm not like, I've said a lot about Purdue, you know? Yeah. I don't have a lot of faith. Let's just say that. I thought this was going to be an absolute ass whooping. Like they were going to go in there, clean the floor, leave. Yeah. This was a 5-set thriller. Nebraska pulled out on top, but for a good amount of time, I was like, they're going to lose. They're going to lose to Purdue, to fucking Purdue. So I'll tell you why. The scores were, so Nebraska dropped 23-25. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Nebraska wins 25-22, 25-18, loses 19-25, comes back and win 15-12. This is Nebraska's first 5-set match. Yep.
Against Purdue. Of all freaking teams for that to happen, it's Purdue.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. So this was just great volleyball, like all the way around. So let me read you some stats. Excuse me. So Chloe, how do you say your last name?
Chacoin.
I always want to say Chaconi.
Yeah.
Chacoin. Okay. She's a 5'10" freshman outside. Yeah. I didn't know. I knew she was that short, but I didn't know that she was like one of the top recruits of her class. Yeah. This girl does not play like a freshman.
No.
Nor
does she play like she's 5'10".
No, she's insane. So she had 18 kills, 4 errors, and 39 attempts. So she was hitting a .359. And then Eva Hudson, the 6'1" sophomore outside, 19 kills, 7 errors on 57 attempts. She hit a .211%. And then setters Taylor Anderson, 6'1" freshman setter, and Lauren Poulter, 5'11" fifth-year setter, had 53 assists combined. So good numbers coming out of Purdue. I mean, it's always Chloe and Eva. Like, they're always the top two, and they feed. Yes. The outsides, obviously, 57 attempts is a lot. Yeah. But, you know, that seems to be the trend here, because on the other side, Harper Murray, the 6'2" freshman outside, had 21 kills, 10 errors on 52 attempts. She hit a .212 and had 10 digs, so that's a double-double for her. The queen of Nebraska, Merritt Beeson, 6'4" junior right side. She had 19 kills, 5 errors on 38 attempts. She hit a .368 and had 9 digs. She's not human. And then obviously have to highlight Andy Jackson, the 6'3" freshman middle, 12 kills, 5 errors on 25 attempts. She had a .280. And then Bergen Riley, the 6'1" freshman setter, had 54 assists. She had an attacking percentage of .556 and 12 digs. She had more assists alone than Purdue's 2 setters combined. Yeah. Crazy.
Like, all of those stats, both teams are insane.
Yeah.
Like, just looking at that.
It's crazy.
Having 4 players, 2 on each team, hitting high teens, low 20s.
With less than 5 errors.
With good hitting percentages you don't see that a lot. It's usually like 1 or 2 standout players on either team respectively, but to have 4 of them,
It's crazy. Like it was, I have not seen Purdue play like that this year at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
And one of my notes I have is like Nebraska wasn't playing poorly. Like it wasn't like they went to 5 because Nebraska wasn't on their game. They looked the same they always have. They looked, I will say their offense looked a little less confident than like they have in other games. I don't know if it was because it was a Big Ten game on the road. Like I don't know. Like they kind of like struggled a little bit. Like it wasn't anything that I was like overly concerned about, but you could tell that like sometimes they were looking at each other and they were like, what is going on? Like it was a little scattery compared to usual, but they played great. Purdue was just simply playing just as good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I said, Nebraska was making some offensive errors that I just thought were a little weird for them. Let's see, what are my other notes? So Nebraska now has 5 consecutive wins versus top 25 opponents for the first time in program history.
Yeah.
This team's going to play in the national championship this year.
For sure.
There's just no way they're not making it. Let's see. What else do I have? The Boilermakers sold this out.
Yeah.
The energy looked electric.
Well, and I've heard that I'm blanking on where they play, but I've heard that that's one of the hardest venues to play college volleyball.
It looks like, well, because it's kind of hard to tell on TV because the court is so lit up, and it's like this harsh white lighting. Like I would hate it. It's like a doctor's office, but the like surrounding, like where the fans sit, is pretty dark.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't know if that'd be helpful or hurtful, but like when you're watching on TV, it's hard to see into the stands a little bit. So I could imagine that like sometimes when like the roar of like the crowd's coming at you and you can't like see everything, like that would be kind of freaky.
Yeah. Their fans, the Boilermaker fans, are pretty loud and rowdy when it comes to their volleyball from what I've heard in the past. Like it can be pretty tricky to be at a sold out packed place. I'm blanking on where they play, what it's called. But when it's packed and sold out, like it is hard. The fans definitely have a big impact. Like any home court advantage, you know, the fans and the environment has a huge play. And I think maybe it kind of rattled Nebraska at times.
Probably. Well, this is their first Big Ten game on the road.
Yeah, and that too. That's what I was going to say next.
And you're playing a lot of freshmen playing. Yeah. So they've never done this before.
Exactly. So
they had a lot of students there as well. Purdue.
Yeah. I thought it was a very good match, and they both are underclassmen heavy. So it was kind of, you could kind of see how more evenly matched they are. Like, I think they were all just going balls to the walls because they didn't really have, either team had nothing to lose at that point. And being underclassmen, you know, they're not necessarily, well, they're making good plays and good shots, but they're also just swinging the swing.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think that it was kind of cool to be like, it kind of felt like you were watching the team's future. Like these teams are so underclassmen heavy that like this is the next 3-4 years, you know, that you're watching. So it was pretty cool to see. The last note that I have to talk about, and I felt so validated because my mom brought this up to me yesterday when we were in Madison. I don't know if it was the way Purdue's court is like, because they mic the court up, so that's how you can hear the ball. So I don't know if it was the way they have their media system set up. I don't know if it's the court or the acoustics in there, but when Harper Murray was hitting the ball, the sound the ball was making when it hit the ground was terrifying. And it wasn't just her. I noticed it more with her because she has an insanely strong swing. But like Eva got a couple, Chloe got a couple. I mean, and when it was hitting off the hands, it was loud. It's usually not that loud. It was fucking loud. I was like, oh my God. And my mom said the same thing. She's like, did you hear the ball when it was hitting the court? And I was like, yes, I did. I don't know what it was, but it sounded different than in usual broadcasts.
That's funny.
I don't know what they did, but it was loud.
Yeah.
All right. So another win for Nebraska on the road. That one scared me. I was like, oh. Not us going on the podcast and being like, Nebraska should be number 1, and then they lose to Purdue. Okay. Next up on the 29th, number 3 Stanford hosted number 25 Arizona State. I thought this was going to be a much better game than it was. Stanford swept 25-19, 25-18, 25-12. Kendall Kipp, the 6'5", fifth-year right side. She had 15 kills, 4 errors, and 28 attempts and hit a .393% with 11 digs. She had a double-double. Aaliyah Rubin, 6'1" sophomore outside, had 12 kills, 2 errors on 25 attempts. She hit a .400 with 11 digs, so she also had a double-double. And then what I really wanted to highlight, Cami Minor, the 6-foot junior setter, she had 44 assists in 3 sets.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
In 3 short sets, like 25-12 is not a lot of time. The numbers on the Arizona State side, their top hitter had 9 kills, and then from there it trickled down to 7. Shannon Shields, their 5'10" fifth-year setter, she had a .500 attacking percentage and only 19 assists. So that compared to Cami Minor having 44, that's insane.
That is.
Stanford just heavily out-hit Arizona.
Yeah.
So set 1, Stanford hit a .304, and Arizona hit a .133. Set 2 was a little bit closer. Stanford hit a .353, and Arizona State hit a .333. And then in the last set, Stanford hit a .375 to Arizona's .062. So just not enough. I thought Arizona State would battle a little bit more.
Yeah.
I was expecting this to be a little bit closer. I mean, this is Arizona State's first loss of the season, so they're 14-1 now.
Wow.
So I kind of was like, ooh.
Yeah.
So just thought I'd highlight, I really wanted to highlight Cami Minor, and then the fact that this is Arizona State's first loss.
Yeah.
Okay, next doubleheader took place on the 29th and the 30th, and it was number 19 Kansas hosting number 20 Houston. This is crazy. This blows my mind.
Yeah.
So Kansas wins them both.
Yep.
Night 1, 5 sets. 20-25, 25-22, 23-25, 25-21, 15-11. Great game. Night 2, Kansas sweeps. 25-22, 25-21, 25-21. I don't understand that a lot.
I don't either. I don't either.
But some big numbers came from Kansas. So Houston, I feel like we've been giving a little more attention to than Kansas. Because Kansas has kind of been like, I think, flying under the radar a little bit. Like when I was typing this in, I was like, number 19, oh my God. I just haven't really been paying that much attention. So some of the numbers they put up, Regan Cooper, 6'2", fifth-year outside, had 35 kills and 5 errors total. Aya El Nady, 5'10", junior outside, had 28 kills, 6 errors, 23 digs total.
Yeah.
Oh God. Toyosi Onabanjo. Yeah. Gotta be right. That sounds good. Okay. 6'1" junior middle, had 21 kills, 8 errors total. And then London Davis, 6-foot junior right side, had 16 kills and 13 errors total, even though she did hit negative in match 2.
Yep.
Now, on the flip side, for Houston, pretty similar. Katie Corelli, 6'1" junior outside, had 23 kills, 5 errors total. Abby Jackson, 6-foot, fifth-year outside, 20 kills, 5 errors, 15 digs total. Kellen Morin, 6'4" junior middle, had 16 kills, 3 errors total. That's pretty good. And then in match 2, Kenna Sauer, the 6'1" fifth-year outside, had 14 kills, 5 errors, and hit a .265 and 11 digs for a double-double.
Yeah.
That's some big numbers coming from Kansas offensively.
Sure. Yeah.
And then my only other note was like, this was a great outcome for a 19-20 ranked team.
Yeah.
The sweep was a little weird, but the scores make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I thought maybe Houston would have pulled out one of them, but I think Kansas, especially in the second match, just was a lot more dominant.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many factors to take into consideration too. Like when you talk about Houston, they were probably staying in hotels, whereas Kansas, they were going home, sleeping in their own beds. You're kind of in your element a little bit more. You have home court advantage. You know, it's just a lot of like outside elements play into it as well. Playing on the road is tough.
It is. And especially doing, like you mentioned, a double header, and then having, not only do you on away games, you sleep in a hotel typically or have a long bus ride before, well, they're on planes and stuff, but they're traveling maybe the morning before, you never know. And so those are always factors, but then to be maybe in a hotel for 2-3 nights before, having to share a bed, typically, I would assume, not eating the food that you typically eat when you're at home, having all the nutritious food that the trainers or nutritionists make for them. I completely agree. I think that would be really tough to do a doubleheader against the same team.
Yeah, I agree. So Kansas pulled it out. So excited to see where they go from here. Wouldn't rule Houston out by any means. Next up on the 30th. Upset. I love an upset. I got a bunch of upsets coming up, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, back on track. Iowa State beats number 18 Baylor in Iowa. Those scores were 25-17, 19-25, 15-25, 25-22, 15-8.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't like, I mean, yes, Iowa State is unranked, but they haven't been unranked. Like, they've been sitting in like right around that 25.
Yep.
So not like, it's not like this is crazy, like came out of the woodworks.
Not the biggest upset.
Right. But still, I mean, and again, like this just shows, in my opinion, Baylor's age, the inconsistency of how young of a team they are is something that they're going to be dealing with. So, and obviously they played in Iowa, so Iowa State was at home, as we talked about. So, however, I don't want to rule that out because they put up big numbers.
Yeah.
So I should say that one girl put up big numbers.
Yeah, let's be real.
Nayeli Gonzalez, 6'2" freshman outside for Iowa State, had 24 kills, 5 errors on 40 attempts. She hit a .475 and had 2 service aces.
She carried that team on her back.
Literally carried, because the next best hitter was Maya Duckworth, the 5'8" sophomore outside. 5'8". Ooh. 9 kills, 6 errors on 35 attempts. So she hit a .086 and had 1 ace.
Yep.
And then behind her was Morgan Brandt, the 6-foot sophomore setter. She had 3 kills, 0 errors, a .214%, 43 assists, 10 digs, and 2 aces. Putting up numbers, really. Yeah. For Baylor, Elise McGee, the 6'4" junior outside, had 18 kills, 5 errors on 47 attempts. She hit a .277%. Kendall Stowers, the 5'11" freshman outside, had 15 kills with 6 errors on 35 attempts. She hit a .257%, had 2 aces and 11 digs. So she had a double-double. And then Manuela Bibinbe.
Yeah.
Whatever, close enough. 6'3" junior middle, 10 kills, 5 errors on 22 attempts, and she had a .227. On paper, Baylor should have won this game.
I was just going to say that. They have 3 hitters hitting double-digit kills with good hitting percentages, and Iowa State has 1.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
No. On paper, this makes no sense. So I didn't watch this game. So not entirely sure like exactly what the winningest, factor was or whatever. But like I said, I mean, Iowa State was ranked 23 during week 3 and 25 during week 4. So it's not like I said, like it's not like they were coming out of, who is this team? Like, it's not like that. They've been in there a little bit, and we said it. I don't know how Baylor's clinging to this number 18 spot.
I don't either.
They're holding on for dear life.
They're clawing at it.
Literally. So just like an interesting game. Iowa State, I think, is definitely a team to watch a little bit. They work their way up and then they tumble a little bit and then work their way back up. So those kind of teams